things became much lighter, because now we know that we react like this because we are like this, and it's not that we are crazy, it's just that we react to certain stimuli the way we do.
This is where most people are. They're stuck. They can't make new choices. They can't choose new behaviors because they're stuck in a neuro-rigid, locked-in pattern of most people need dopamine in today's day and age.
We all have emotions, and we'll have negative emotions, and sometimes we get kind of overloaded with that. So when we experience these emotions, we might put some of them on hold. Well, then we don't process them. That emotional charge will get trapped in the body somewhere.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
It's always interesting to me, the people that help people that haven't had certain issues. I always find comfort if someone has dealt with the issue themselves, when they're helping me with something.
I read somewhere more than once that your business or what you do should be that one thing that you actually need. And basically, so you need something, you really explore it, and then you can actually help other people that have the same problem, because you already explored, discovered, and so on. And when you have good results yourself, you can go on and share it with others. I think it
makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Chris and I have started a couple of different companies around that premise.
I've never thought of it like that, and I've never heard it put so simply, but that just kind of gave me an aha moment, and I feel wow, it really is that simple.
Well, maybe, when you start, look, services and products and things are about solving issues. And when you've dealt with an issue yourself, and if you're an entrepreneur or someone that's, takes on problem solving as a business, nothing better than your own experience.
Yeah. And your own results also, because you know what works.
That's right.
For you, and there's a lot of people that might have the same problems. Yeah.
When did you how early did you know, or did your family know that you had ADHD, or maybe were on the spectrum?
I don't know that my family knew. I think I'm the first one really pinpointing that, okay, so we are this strange family because we are like this. And since I actually realized this, and I shared it, for example, with my mother, things became much lighter, because now we know. So now we know that we react like this because we are like this, and it's not that we are crazy, it's just that we react to certain stimuli the way we do. But I remember when I was a kid, sometimes I needed to retreat and go and hide somewhere in a corner in order to cry and really stress. I remember doing it. And then I also remember that how hard it was to learn things by heart. And I felt very stupid because I couldn't learn things by heart. And I felt stupid, actually. But I was really good in adapting. So see something and adapt to another reality. And at the same time, I couldn't learn by heart. If I was interested in a subject, I could learn it like nobody else could. So, but I needed to be interested. If I was not interested, I couldn't learn. It was over, and I couldn't retain. And then I had, and I still have, many, many different interests, but many different ones. And then, I don't know, other things in school, for example, I remember some social things, not feeling like being social all the time, and being being picky with the people, or for example, physical proximity. I don't know if this word exists in English, like when people get too close and or with physical contact,
Yep.
or I don't know, difficulty sometimes also staying focused or staying too focused, and many things I realized as an adult. And this focusing, it's something that I really realized as an adult and even more as a mother. So when I had kids, then I discovered much more, and that's what made me, actually get into the subject.
I'm going to ask a layup to start, Doctor.
Sure.
Can we really train our brains?
Oh yeah, that's the full question. Beautiful.
That's it.
I thought there was more.
I started with a layup because
totally,
I don't. As simple as that question is, I don't think people quite realize that you can. And I know that I sort of knew the answer, but I want you to expand upon how you do and the reality of that.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate the layup question, because I think it's the solution to people's problems, especially like if they're stuck, if their mind and their body is stuck. This is where most people are, they're stuck. They can't like make new choices. They can't choose new behaviors because they're stuck in a neuro-rigid, locked in pattern of most people need dopamine in today's day and age. So in my work, I can visualize how people's brains are performing and how far away from the optimal performance pattern their brain is working in all areas. So areas and levels of dysfunction can be seen and visualized. And once people see it, then what I do, I have my own app now, which is really wonderful. I collaborate with the largest software company in the world with what I do in terms of brain training. And I can set very specific protocols, many of which I designed because other people don't know about this. And without a person having to try with their mind or body, can shift their brain from where it is to closer towards that optimal brain pattern, ideally getting to the optimal pattern. It is so much easier than people know. And it's all scientific. Every single thing I do has data. I can see data every single day. People can see their brains change in real time.
What allows that? I mean, we've had a few people on, Chris and I have done a few different shows and different things, but especially here, like mind neuroplasticity and mind mapping. But exactly what are you using to get the readouts that you do?
Sure. Yeah. So the easiest way to think about it, well, I can tell you exactly what I use. The first thing that I do is called a QEEG brain map. It uses EEG, electroencephalogram. So I can see how a person's brain's using electrical energy. But that's what is basically, driving the bus. It's the software up in the hardware. From there, I use a modality called neurofeedback, which if you've had other people on, neurofeedback, which thankfully I'm one of the leading providers in the world. I'm basically the leading provider when it comes to pornography or explicit matter or screen addictions. And these are the protocols that other people don't know about, and I can share more about that. But basically, every time you put the tech on and you open the app, you're giving your brain a workout. So the analogy I use is, Chris has been hitting the gym. You don't need a therapist to tell you what you need to do to get stronger biceps. You just have to hit the gym and do bicep curls. And you start at 20 pounds and then it gets easier. So then you move up to 30 pounds. It gets easier. You move up to 40. You can't take much time off. You've got to hit the gym. But once you hit a level of fitness, you can maintain that with relative ease. That's exactly what happens in the app. When you do a session, it uses something called operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is basically how all things change. You get reinforced on an intermittent schedule. But basically, it's leveling your brain up. It automatically thresholds. It makes it more challenging, keeps moving your brain in the right direction. All measurable.
Is this I'm wanting like the physical, like, is it something you put on your head?
Yeah, I don't have mine here. It is a headband. Okay. So I also collaborate with a company that makes this headband, and it has sensors across the frontal lobe, sensors in the earpiece, the temporal lobe, and it has a detachable sensor that can reach any of the central or regions that aren't in the headband. That's the hardware. And then my app is the software.
What's the difference between a bad habit and an addiction?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I make that distinction because people say, porn's just a bad habit. No, being late's a bad habit. Like it's under your control. And the easiest way to think about it scientifically too is that like habits start as use, right? You're using something. Then you misuse it, which means you're using it too much, too frequently, too consistently, too much of it, too much intensity when it comes to porn. Then it's abuse. You're supposed to be at work, but instead you're watching porn. Then this is where the bridge happens from a habit to a compulsion or addiction. Compulsion is you have to do it. The choice there is no longer, it's not there. And so you have to do it. And now it's to not feel bad instead of feel good. But, most addictions do start as habits because it is still under your control. And then a compulsion, as it ramps up and you need it, that's when people will, admit to themselves they have a full-blown addiction, which that can be very difficult. That's why I like to use the word compulsion because people get, I have to use it.
The more we do this show, we talked about this pre-episode, I am convinced that we have all the tools we have within inside us, but we do need help drawing them out and leveraging them to our highest vibe. And I think it's less, I don't know, maybe complicated, but it does take specific practices, beliefs, and I don't know. I've really come to believe that we talk ourselves into both prosperity and health issues sometimes in a lot of ways. Like, yes. I know there's certain cancers and things that are way more complicated than that, but I'm just talking about like everyday sort of mentality stuff. I mean, would you agree, Tim?
Completely. It makes such a difference. I talk to people about this pretty frequently, especially when we first were getting into cell phones and texting and everything. You get a text and it could be just totally benign, but depending on how your attitude is that day, you could take it completely wrong and fly off the handle or something, and that's just a simple,
guilty.
And I think we're all guilty of that. But you could also choose to take it the other way, take it more on a positive note. And we do that with ourselves internally all the time.
Yeah.
And interestingly, what we found as well is we may have something inside of us that's negative that keeps basically speaking to us, and we may not even know it was there because we may have acquired this when we were, I recently had someone I was working on that they acquired these things when they were 10 days old.
Wow.
And you can inherit things too. And so you inherit these beliefs without even knowing they're there, without knowing. And so it clouds your judgment. It's kind of like putting a filter on everything that you interact with. And when you have a negative filter, of course, you're going to see things more negatively. And when you have a positive filter, well, it's more positive. So with the modalities that I use, we can go in and actually determine what those negative statements are. And I connect with the subconscious. I ask yes or no questions, and we get down to the root cause of whatever is going on with you. And some people are like, well, wait a minute, what if I don't really know what's going on with me? That's okay too. We can still have a session because I just say, all right, the focus on the session is whatever's in the best interest of this person. And the subconscious then, because the subconscious knows everything, it knows your entire life, every little thing that's happened to you, and it knows what's in your best interest.
When I hear Tim speak, Chris, I think of like some of the discussions you've had and talked about, like, your experiences with ayahuasca and things like that, like where you're getting deep. Like, I mean, obviously that's using plant medicine, but I'm hearing like a lot of, I don't know,
a lot of the
connection points to that.
subconscious navigation in that terrain. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would say it's something I've thought about a lot recently, even this week, of just those, like, our thoughts sometimes even aren't our own, right? Or like you said, it's subconscious programming from years and years of basically operating software. It's our operating system that
Yes.
is just running the computer in the background, that there's no action being taken. But realizing like, hey man, you can upgrade that software, right? You can rewrite the code a little bit. Like you said, I'm assuming that's what we're going to go into with your EBB.
Exactly.
It's
So
reprogramming, right? Or something of that nature.
well, we're removing things, and
This is more like antivirus.
and it's
Yeah.
some people kind of.
I love that. Which I don't know if we said this. Tim's background is IT, so I didn't mean to go there. It just kind of was where my brain could easily make a find some way to simplify
when you were
this.
saying talking, Chris, I'm going. That's where my brain went.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great analogy. It is like that, and that. So some people worry because the word belief code. It's like, oh no, you're going to change my beliefs, and it's like, no, that's not this. And also, it doesn't get rid of your memories. It gets rid of the energetic charge of whatever this is. So, starting with the emotion code, we all have emotions, and we'll have negative emotions, and sometimes we get kind of overloaded with that. So when we experience these emotions, we might put some of them on hold. Well, then we don't process them, and then that emotional charge will get trapped in the body somewhere, and that will then it takes time, but over time it can cause a blockage.
My wife is in the school system, and she's a principal at a middle school. So I don't like to speak badly of the American school system, but she knows kind of how I feel about some of these topics. And it's interesting because, I think about, I was a B student, barely graduated from college, but I didn't start thriving until I really got to do it the way when I became an entrepreneur, because I could do it the way I needed to do it that worked for me. And I had abilities and gifts, but they weren't fully realized until I could almost do it my way. And not because I'm selfish or have to do it my way, but because I think I, wired different.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about my own experience. So basically, I have some kind of an interest, and I just go and do it. So I was very good at school. In before college, then college, university, I don't know how to call it. Yeah, I did it as well. And so I studied a lot, like in the formal system. I didn't have fun, but I was able to do it at that time. And then I started to study things that interested me, and I'm always interested. So I'm always studying something. I'm always doing some kind of training because I really need to learn, but I'm not able to learn things that don't interest me. So if it does not interest me, I'm just not able. I don't care. And now I can not care. So this is something that I don't care about. So I'll just leave it there. And however, when it's something that I really like, then I can be really good at it. So, and I am, and I can be the best. So it's a fluctuation between two extremes, like from being like bad and being the best. And I'm always, one side or the other. And so I got to therapy from yoga. And even with yoga, with my yoga practice, I'm very extreme. So either the most physical one or the one that you not move. So I either do yin yoga or I do Ashtanga yoga. But in the middle, I always have a hard time. So I'm very extreme. And the same is with my interest. It's either yes or no, black or white. And I'm always on the extreme sides of it. And and I see with age, because I actually can now. So this is the way I am, and okay, so I'm okay with it. And then my family, it's like this as
How do
well.
you how do you help others? You know, like what are the conditions that you're helping others with, you know, the things that you're doing?
So I'm helping basically people like me, and I think the first thing is that they've suddenly discover that they are not alone. So they don't have a problem, and they are not alone. And I think this is already a big part of the solution. Okay, so it's the fact that you come, okay, you have ADHD, and you are stuck in your problems, and sometimes like a little rejection from society or from school or from work or whatever. I work mainly with women, so often it's women that do a lot of masking in order to look normal, and they feel that, okay, so I'm actually normal to people like me, so they feel a lot of relief just from there. Then often they come with problems like chronic pain, for example, a lot of stress, anxiety, sleep issues, all of them together. And often they come from neurodiversity, that usually it's autism, ADHD, and also giftedness. Giftedness, it's not even, I don't even see it often as being neurodivergent, and it's kind of privileged. Oh my god, someone that got very lucky, because it's someone that has a very high IQ, and then because, oh my god, you are so intelligent, you are so lucky because you are good at school. Often people around, they don't see how troubling it can be, because these are people that are always like thinking a lot, questioning everything, and there's a lot of stress that comes with it. And for example, if there is ADHD along, and often these conditions are mixed between each other with different percentages of each as well. So these are people that have a lot of stress.
The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.